They say a bank robbery is a crime of desperation. One or two men cornered by life, pushed by debt or hunger, storming in with a gun and a mask. But what happens when it isn't just one man? What happens when it's not a gang or a cartel, but an entire town? This is the true story of the day: a community, fathers, mothers, sons, and neighbors, joined together in one of the strangest, most audacious crimes in modern history. A story that blurs the line between survival and greed, between solidarity and madness. It began in a place the world rarely looks at, a small town in rural Brazil, the kind of place where the sun bakes the earth dry, where children play barefoot in the dust, and where opportunity is a luxury only found elsewhere. Jobs were scarce, the fields had withered, and like so many forgotten towns, the people here lived in a fragile balance between endurance and collapse. But inside that town stood a single building that seemed to shine with promise, a branch of the Banco do Brasil. Behind its walls, stacks of cash, guarded by a handful of men in uniforms, and the illusion of security. To the people of the town, it wasn't just a bank, it was a symbol of everything they'd been denied. No one knows exactly who whispered it first. Maybe it was in the back of a bar, over cheap beer. Maybe it was in the fields, under the weight of the sun. But the idea spread like wildfire. What if we took it? Not just a few of us, all of us. At first, it sounded like madness. Robbing a bank is dangerous enough, but an entire community? It would never work. And yet, it did. In the early hours of a summer morning, dozens of cars rolled into town, men armed with rifles, women cooking food to keep them fed, even children standing guard on the outskirts, watching for police. It wasn't a heist, it was an occupation. They blocked the roads with burning cars. They cut power to the town, plunging it into darkness. And then they stormed the bank. But here's the twist that still baffles investigators. This wasn't the work of a few outsiders tricking the town into helping them. The townspeople were in on it. Shops were closed so the owners could stand lookout. Mothers carried ammunition in cloth bags hidden under fruit. Teenagers passed messages between groups like couriers in a war. For a few surreal hours, it wasn't crime, it was community. Imagine standing there, on that street, the sound of gunfire echoing through narrow alleys, neighbors you grew up with, people you borrowed salt from or waved to in the morning, suddenly holding rifles, guarding bags of stolen cash. Some described it as terrifying, others as liberating, because for once, the powerless felt powerful. By dawn, the vault was cracked open, tens of millions of reais stuffed into sacks, money that could change lives forever. And then, just as quickly as it began, the town fell silent. The cars disappeared. The fire was extinguished, and the people went back to their lives as if nothing had happened. But of course, something had. Something unforgettable. When the police arrived, they were stunned. Who do you arrest when everyone is guilty? How do you interrogate a community when everyone gives the same answer: I don't know anything? Some of the cash was found, buried in fields or hidden in chicken coops. But most of it vanished, folded into homes, businesses, debts paid off quietly, lives quietly changed. It was the perfect crime, not because it was invisible, but because it was too big to punish. Experts later called it a phenomenon of collective criminality. Sociologists compared it to a peasant revolt, not against a king, but against a system that had kept them poor for generations. The robbery wasn't just about money, it was about dignity, about turning the tables, if only for a single night. But others see it differently. They say it wasn't justice, it was greed, pure and simple, a community choosing crime over hardship. And the children who watched their parents rob a bank grew up with the lesson that when the world fails you, you take what you can. Even now, years later, the story lingers like a ghost. You can walk the streets of that town and never know. Never guess that these quiet homes once housed one of the wildest crimes in history. The people don't talk about it openly, but you'll notice a pause when you ask about the bank, a hesitation in the voice, a glance to the side, because the truth is, everyone remembers. In the end, the day the town robbed a bank isn't just about Brazil, it's about all of us. It's about what happens when people are pushed to the edge, when survival collides with morality. It's about how far we go, if we were desperate enough. We like to think crime is about villains and heroes, about good guys and bad guys. But sometimes, it's not that simple. Sometimes, it's the neighbor you trust, the friend you laugh with, the mother who cooks dinner at night. Sometimes, it's an entire town. So, the next time you hear about a bank robbery, remember this. It doesn't always take one criminal mastermind. Sometimes it takes a village. And the question that lingers is the hardest one of all. If your town had been there, in that moment of hunger and despair, would you have joined them? Tell me in the comments what you would have done.